notion of achieving success ethically is often idealized, but rarely realized in a world governed by contradictory algorithms. Conventional wisdom preaches hard work and honesty as the keys to success, but the reality is far more complex. Many who diligently follow these principles find themselves trapped in cycles of disappointment, labeled as losers despite their efforts. Life, like women, is tough on nice guys. In today's world, icons and influencers often employ unconventional methods to rise to prominence. Behind the facade of success lies a history of bending or even breaking the rules. So, is ethical success achievable? It's a question not just of if, but how and when one navigates the gray areas of morality. As Arnold Schwarzenegger famously remarked, "You can't reach the top by following the rules." The politeness we see in society hides the harsh truth of our world. But our economy needs motivated workers to keep moving forward. That is why we have things like the American dream, that you can achieve everything you want in life as long as you work hard. But can you do that ethically? Mainstream stories rarely talk about cheating to succeed. Many people are confused when their hard work doesn't pay off like they expect. This makes us wonder, are we doing the right things to reach our goals, or are our goals just too hard to reach? If our efforts don't get us where we want to go, then they can't be called right. The problem is, there are different ideas about what's right. Some say success comes from hard work and innovation, like in capitalism. Others think success comes from working together as a community, like in socialism. However, in both cases, we have a caste of people living under the properties of an aristocracy and a population of slaves trying to make it big by following the rules. Despite their hard work, most people remain at the same level throughout their lives. The second right thing is a difficult issue. It includes unpleasant truths and a code of conduct that does not fit the conventional narrative. To illustrate this point, I will tell you about a real estate agent who was a failure until he started cheating the system. Initially, he operated with integrity, helping clients find suitable homes within their budget. He seemed like an honest individual, and even his son followed suit. However, to survive in the competitive market, he had to resort to cunning tactics. He adopted a similar strategy, advertising attractive properties at unbelievably low prices, even if those properties weren't available or would typically sell for much higher. When potential buyers inquired about these advertised properties, he'd claim they were already sold, but offer alternatives instead. Essentially, he was being deceptive. Surprisingly, this approach yielded results, and his business flourished. He admitted to me that many of his successful deals relied on this tactic. Without it, he feared his business would collapse. While morally questionable, he never misrepresented the properties he sold. Instead, he used false advertisements as a means to attract potential clients, not to deceive them, but to keep his business afloat. Tricks like that are a necessity in many fields. They represent the shrewdness of which professionals involved in a circle abuse. If one is using them, others often have no choice but to follow suit to remain competitive. What does a businessman do when there are no businesses? He creates them. Fast food chains using addictive additives in their products to keep customers coming back for more, despite the negative health consequences. Real estate agents might engage in phantom bidding during auctions, where they create fake offers to drive up the price of a property, maximizing their commission at the expense of buyers. If the world is based on similar deception trends, how can you succeed in it while being 100% pure? You can't. You can't win honestly in a dishonest world. Most people only see the front part. We often find ourselves working honestly for those who aren't. Society talks a big game about honesty, but often ignores the fact that most people just follow the rules laid out by those in charge. going through the motions of work, consumption, and social norms. Can we really claim to be honest if we're just serving the agendas of the powerful and greedy? Sure, there's a way out in theory, but in practice, it's a different story. Those who resist either get pushed to the sidelines or silenced, effectively facing social exile. The modern world cares more about profit, tech, and money than anything else, making a return to simpler times seem almost impossible. While individuals might carve out their own paths, changing the whole system is a whole different ballgame. Women value honest and loyal men, certainly. Countless movies and books depict stories of women whose hearts are shattered by deceitful, selfish men who lie and cheat. The feminine spirit craves genuine relationships and commitment, while manipulative men merely seek to exploit them for their own selfish desires. These men care nothing for feelings. They're cold-hearted and ruthless, while the women remain sincere and loving. This constant stream of anti-testosterone love dramas provokes a specific response from the male audience. They begin to pity the suffering women and despise the so-called vile men who hurt them. If I were him, I would never do that to her. She deserves better, they think, fantasizing about how perfect life would be once they find a woman worthy of their love. However, these men often face severe frustration when reality doesn't match their expectations. Despite doing the opposite of what the bad guys in the movies do, buying flowers, giving expensive gifts, planning vacations, and remembering every special occasion, they still end up suffering. Their efforts go unappreciated, and they feel exploited. These good men, following the script of kindness and dedication, find themselves constantly checking their phones for messages, spending their money on what they believe to be love, and rearranging their lives in hopes of a fairy tale ending. Yet, despite their efforts, they find themselves hurt, just like the women in the stories. Women often reject kind men in favor of deceitful ones. Even those with good partners might fantasize about charming but unfaithful men, especially those who are influenced by societal norms and lack a clear direction in life. Many kind men exhaust their mental energy, time, money, and affection in their relationships, only to find their sacrifices unappreciated. Their partners, feeling entitled, take their efforts for granted. Modern culture has shifted away from traditional moral codes. Premarital sex, once considered immoral, is now common, and the average young woman has had more sexual partners than previous generations combined. This change highlights what happens when one tries to be genuinely honest and kind in a corrupt environment. They get exploited and hurt, and no one seems to care. A wise man once said, "To him, their love was irreplaceable. To her, it was easily replaced." If she truly cared, she wouldn't have hurt you in the first place. It's time to face the truth.